What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sound Effect Breakdown, where we take a look at some of movie and video games' most iconic sounds. We then break them down and then see if we can't recreate them. This week, we're going to be taking a look at Gary Rydstrom's TRex Roar from the original Jurassic Park. Also, if you're new to the channel or you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos just like this. So when I make these breakdown videos, I always do my homework first. Because we're dealing with, the most iconic movie and video game sounds, there's usually a lot of documentation on it. So I like to read up and see how the original was created. And with this one, there's no exception. We could find that there's actually several different animal layers that go into the TRex Roar. First of all, there's a tiger, there's an alligator, and there's an elephant. Now, because these are animals that I don't have, at my disposal that I can just go and record, I did source these from a sound library that I have access to. And in doing so, I realized that these animals make a lot of different noises than what I would typically think from these animals. So if you're getting into creating creature noises or something like that, I highly recommend just going and finding a sound library that has a bunch of different animal sounds and just listen to all the different types of animal sounds that these animals make. For example, with the elephants, it's not just the trumpet. They make snorts, they make growls. There's a lot of really crazy sounds that elephants make that I never would have thought about. Alright, so before we start trying to recreate the TRex Roar, first, we need to take a listen to that TRex Roar so we can kind of hear and understand what's happening. So that's what you're seeing on the screen right now. That's the original TRex Roar, straight from the movie. And let's go ahead and give it a listen. Alright, so with this sound, it kind of starts out with a breath. And then there's two distinct layers in that roar. There's the highs, and then there's a lower kind of roar to it. So when I sourced these sounds from these different animals, I just grabbed a bunch that I thought might go in there. When I do these videos, it's not something that I've ever created before. So when it comes to sourcing these sounds, I have an idea of what I need. But I'm not entirely sure, so I've just grabbed a bunch, because it's better to have too many than not enough. So I'm going to go ahead and import those now, and then we'll kind of audition some and see if we could hear those sounds being in the roar. Alright, so while there is a lot of documentation on what animals were used, I wasn't able to find a lot of documentation on the process that went into blending these sounds together. So after going back and watching the movie several times, more or less watching that section several times, it does seem like a lot of the layers from the animals were just placed in there. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of processing. So what I did was I just auditioned several pieces, and I've got like 40 plus animal sounds that I originally got. But I went ahead and just pulled in a few just so we have something to start with. So first off, I've got an alligator. I'm going to use this for the breath. And then I've got a tiger. And then I've got an elephant growl. And then the last sound that I grabbed an elephant trumpet, because we need that high end somewhere. And I really feel like this is going to be how we're going to get it. I'm just not quite sure how we're going to get it from that just yet. So let's go back and listen to the original and see if we can't figure something out here. Okay, so there's definitely a growl in there, which we've got between the tiger and the elephant. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to move this trumpet out of the way for now. And we're going to trim the growls of the tiger and the elephant up to just try to match the timing. Alright, so what I went ahead and did is for the tiger and the elephant growl, I just warped them and kind of shortened them up because I wanted to maintain the quality of the sound. I just wanted to be able to shorten it up, and it does have a really nice entrance and exit, and I wanted to maintain that as well. So again, here's the original. And then with these warped, this is kind of what we've got, minus the high part of the roar. So I don't want that breath to go all the way through there, so let's shorten that up as well. Okay, so I want to drop the volume. So go ahead and pull this down. Too much. Okay, so that actually doesn't sound too bad in comparison to the original. There's definitely a lot of reverb in there as well, but we'll get there. So let's take a look at this elephant trumpet and kind of see what we can play with that. And just like the others, I am going to go ahead and warp this one as well. Okay, so now that I've got everything warped to be kind of relative to the original timing, let's go ahead and take a listen to this. Okay, and the pitch on that elephant trumpet is just too high. So let's just go ahead and add a pitch shift on here. And I'm just going to cut it in half, which is minus 12 semitones. Alright, so just within those 4 sounds, I really think we're in the ballpark. So again, the original. And then what we have. Okay, so we're close. Obviously we're not done yet. We still need to blend some things. Like I said, there is a lot of reverb in there as well. So let's play around with some of our levels and see what we can get from that. Alright, so I did a little bit of volume mixing, and I think we're a little bit closer. I know I had mentioned that there's some reverb in there, so let's go ahead and play around with some reverb and see kind of where that puts us. Okay, so I went ahead and I took just the tiger growl and the elephant growl and ran them to a small plate reverb. So let's hear how that sounds. There's still something going on with that elephant trumpet sound that sounds a little off. And to be honest, I think it needs a shorter decay. So let's go back into our warp menu and rewarp it. Okay, so I rewarped the elephant trumpet to have a little less of a decay. Alright, so I think we're super close. There's just something going on with the elephant trumpet that's not quite matching the original. And like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of documentation on the actual process that was used, so I'm really just trying to figure this out kind of as we go. So let's see if we can't play around with the pitch a little bit and maybe do some EQ and see if we can get that trumpet to kind of feel more like the original. Okay, so while we were doing that, actually what you guys saw about 5 seconds ago in the video was honestly probably about an hour ago in real time. And because I got caught up doing it and I forgot to hit the record button. So what I ended up doing was just to kind of close the gap between the roars and the elephant trumpet, I pulled in some of the elephant growls, which we'll go ahead and solo these out. And I also pitch shifted them up a little bit. So that definitely helped bridge the gap between the low growls and the high trumpet. other than that, all I really did was I also just kind of put a low pass filter on the elephant trumpet. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of where we're at now, again, the original, and with the mixture of all those different layers. So there's still some blending that can happen here. I'm kind of limited by just the library assets that I had. When they worked on the original Jurassic Park, they were actually able to go out and record these animals, so they just had a plethora of sounds. So with the assets that I have, this is probably going to be about as good as it's going to get. And honestly, more layers is what this needs to kind of help bridge the gap between some of these layers. And that's why when you listen to mine versus the original sounds super cohesive. Whereas mine, it kind of has definitive layers in it, which isn't what we want. But unfortunately, with what I have, that's about as good as it's going to get for now. Alright, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out. If you missed my video last week with the I Challenge You to Sound Design This Clip number 4, there's still plenty of time to get your entries in for that challenge. I forgot to mention it in the last video, but entries are due by March 13th. To enter, all you have to do is upload your video to YouTube, make sure that it's public, and use the hashtag #TheSoundEffectsGuy in the title. Also, if you're interested in staying connected, there will be a link to my Discord server down in the description below. Until next time.